Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and happy birthday. ObamaCare, 5 years ago today, you came into our lives, and nothing has ever been the same since. Our insurance premiums have skyrocketed, and our doctor choices have plummeted. Thank you. Now, I know every big government initiative has its fits and starts, but 5 years later, I'm seeing a lot more fits than starts, and a whole bunch more broken promises. Now, we all know the one about keeping our doctor. Can't. About prices for prescription drugs declining. Aren't. And everyone eventually being covered to make it all worthwhile. Not. In fact, at least 25 million Americans still won't have health insurance when this is all said and done. So why did we upend our entire medical system at all? 5 years ago today, wasn't that the idea? Get everyone on board, and the sheer numbers would drive down the cost of medical care for all. As Sally Pipes writes in today's New York Daily News, no, not even close. She explains how insurance premiums in the so-called non-group marketplace, that's where those who don't get coverage through work shop for insurance, well, those premiums are 24.4% higher than they would have been without Obamacare. Some birthday present. And for doctors, some birthday surprise. Nearly half of 20,000 physicians recently surveyed now consider Obamacare a failure. And the cost to taxpayers more like a moving target. The Congressional Budget Office now estimates that over the next 10 years, the law is going to cost at least $1.2 trillion. That is, for now, $300 billion more than the president first promised. And like I said, things are changing. Like subsidies that don't add up, $5,000 deductibles that are enough to make you want to throw up. And whether you're part of this thing or lucky to have insurance through work, you are feeling it when you get the bill. Yet this day, the administration touts only the good. Do take a good look at that 16 million Americans that the White House insists have signed up. According to Sally Pipes, 9 out of 10 early signees already had coverage somewhere else. So how many are actually new, didn't have it coverage before? I suspect a couple of million tops. And I'm probably being very generous, which makes this particular birthday very sad. But what the heck? It's all our birthday. So, well, if we want to, because you would too if it happened to you. And it is to all of us. You are so lucky I'm not singing those last couple of lines. All right, so radio talk show host Richard Fowler, who could sing it flawlessly if he wanted. We've got columnist Jillian Melcher and former New York Lieutenant Governor Betsy McCoy. All right, Jillian, to you first. It seems to me that the benefits do not even come close to all those negatives.
I completely agree with you. I want to point out that before Obamacare, women controlled 2 out of every $3 spent on health care. I think they did a better job of it than government, especially when you look at the impact on women and families. So you've got women, young women like me, premiums up about 45%. Hey, at least we get for free birth control. And then if you look at family premiums, they're up too. Nothing is good about this.
All right. Now, the benefit is that a lot more people supposedly are insured. Now, we don't know the real net gain, but what do you suspect the real net gain is?
The real net gain is somewhere about 9.7 million, and that includes almost all Medicaid enrollment. You
swap from that to this.
That's right. No, you could have replaced this 2,572-page bill with a 20-page bill that simply expanded Medicaid in states that chose to do so and accomplished the same coverage increase that the president is touting. And it would be without the 24% increase in premiums, without the huge hike in deductibles, without the diminution in choice of hospitals and doctors, without the terrible impact on job opportunities. So you're right. This is a real bummer.
All right. Well, now, 5 years later, Richard, do you think it was worth it?
Well, here's the thing, Neil, and I disagree, and you know I will disagree with you. Thanks for having me. But here's the thing, and here's the benefits of this law. Number one, being pregnant and having a baby is no longer a pre-existing condition. Pap smears, blood pressure checks, prostate checks are all now part of health care coverage. Not to mention the fact that this bill obliterated the idea lifetime maximums. Not to mention if you had asthma, a childhood asthma, you now can get health care.
Right?
But let's talk about the cost for just a second. For the first time in history, for a very long time, the cost curve on health care is finally going down. And listen, I talk to my audience, young people like myself, the young invincibles. We are getting health care at record numbers because of the Affordable Care Act. All reasons why the law works.
Let's bring the truthometer in here. First of all, health care spending was increasing at the lowest rate in 50 years before Obama.
The cost curve is now going down. Is that not true, Betsy?
Let me just clarify that. That was a recession,
Richard
right?
attributes the slowdown in health care spending to this law. To the contrary, now you'll see, according to the Congressional Budget Office, that the pace of health care spending is double what it was before
But Betsy,
this law.
that same
I also really want to point out, you know, we're talking about why healthcare costs have gone up. It's because there's less competition, and that was one of Obama's fundamental promises about what this law is going to do. You have fewer hospital networks. You have more doctors that are thinking about quitting their fields early. You have fewer insurers in the market, and, you know, you don't get to keep your doctors. So, I mean, you know, you're saying that it's really great that we get OBGYN services, that we get birth control. We're paying for that.
So, Richard, here's what I don't, maybe you can help me out with it. If you knew ahead of this that the goal was, I remember covering this when they were, I practically should have gotten a condo in Washington, living down there as they were putting this together. And one of the things I heard was that everyone's going to be covered. We had at the time, I think, about 35 million uninsured. The idea was to insure them all, so it would be a price well worth paying, because just that alone would justify it. That no one would have to be without coverage. Yet when all is said and done, hey, we're talking at least 25, closer to 30 million, we'll still not have the coverage. And what the hell do we do this for?
Well, here's the thing, Neil. If you look at those folks who are now getting coverage, the amount of uninsured Americans in this country has decreased by 25%, meaning we are all saving money, because when an uninsured person goes to the hospital...
I just went through the premiums. I just went through the hospital.
When an person goes to the hospital, we all pay the bill. It affects all of our premiums. And more folks, when more folks are insured, that cost goes down.
Not to mention, saying without this, we'd be paying still more?
I think we'd be paying through the roof, because the premiums are already on the upward spiral.
Don't be bamboozled when Richard says, "Oh, you're getting a free colonoscopy. You're getting a
nobody's saying you're getting a free colonoscopy. It's now part of your coverage."
I never get excited when someone says colonoscopy on the first.
You're being forced to pay for it whether you want it or not, and being forced to pay for these things like a colonoscopy feels almost as bad as having to get one.
But here's the thing.
You know,
this is about preventative care.
The fundamental problem here is that the government thinks that it can do better than consumers when it's deciding health coverage.
Do you think the jury's still out on this? To Richard's point, though, that it's going to take more time to see how it all...
Well, you know, we were told that we were going to really like this as soon as it had passed, and I think the jury's definitely still out, Democrats would say, because 50% of Americans don't like it.
But here's the thing, Neil, and this is the most important thing that we need to realize. The Congressional Budget Office, when this bill passed, indicated this bill would decrease our deficit by $124 billion. Those numbers are coming true. We're seeing that happen.
No,
meaning, that's what the Congressional Budget Office said. You cited that same.
The Congressional Budget Office has said that this has come in far more.
The Congressional Budget Office also said it was going to decrease the deficit it had.
Richard likes to reduce the deficit by raising taxes.
Betsy, I'm just talking about the facts. That's the simple fact. We're talking about the facts, Betsy.
Guys, seriously, you all argue, and thank you very much. We saved time by talking over one another, which can always be a problem. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, enter one Ted Cruz, Mr. Anti.